I want you to think about something that happened to you recently. Maybe you walked up a flight of stairs. Maybe you stood up from your favorite chair. Or maybe you crossed a parking lot on your way into the grocery store. And somewhere during that ordinary moment, you noticed something felt different. Your legs felt a little heavier, a little less steady, a little slower to respond than they used to. You probably told yourself, well, I guess that's just part of getting older. Most people do, and unfortunately many physicians do too. But here's something that most adults over the age of 50, and even many healthcare professionals, are never told. The strength of your leg muscles may be one of the most powerful predictors of your future brain health that modern medicine has identified. Not your cholesterol, not your blood pressure, not even your body weight, your leg strength. A study published in the Annals of Neurology, one of the world's leading neuroscience journals, found that leg muscle strength in adults over 50 was a stronger independent predictor of cognitive decline over a 10-year period than almost any other measurable physical marker. Participants who started the study with weaker legs experienced greater brain volume loss, faster cognitive decline, and a higher risk of dementia over the following decade compared with those whose leg strength remained stronger. That tells us something remarkable. Your legs and your brain aren't working as two separate systems. They're deeply connected. And if one is becoming weaker, there's a very good chance the other is being affected as well. I know that may sound surprising. It certainly isn't the connection most people expect. But stay with me, because once you understand the biology behind it, the relationship becomes remarkably clear. More importantly, I'm going to show you 6 specific foods that research has linked to supporting both leg strength and brain health after the age of 50. And I'm saving the most important one for last, because food number 1 is the nutrient-rich food most consistently missing from the diets of adults who struggle with both muscle weakness and cognitive decline. It also has some of the strongest scientific evidence for supporting both at the same time. So make sure you stay with me until the very end. I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, a board-certified neurologist and the author of Grain Brain and Brain Maker. Over the years, I've spent much of my career studying the relationship between nutrition, brain function, and healthy aging. And what I'm about to share may completely change the way you think about the connection between your physical strength and your cognitive future. Before we begin, I'd love to know who's watching today. Leave your name and the city you're watching from in the comments below. I read every single one. The leg-brain connection most doctors miss. Before I show you the 6 foods, there's something important you need to understand. The connection between your legs and your brain isn't just a theory. It isn't symbolic, and it certainly isn't a coincidence. It's a real biological connection that's driven by 3 powerful mechanisms. Once you understand them, you'll never look at muscle weakness the same way again. The first mechanism is something called myokines. Every time your leg muscles contract, whether you're walking, climbing stairs, or simply standing up from a chair, they release tiny signaling proteins into your bloodstream. These proteins are called myokines. One of the most important is known as irisin. Research published in Beets, Nature Medicine, found that irisin can cross the blood-brain barrier and directly stimulate the production of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, the same growth factor we've discussed in previous videos that's essential for learning, memory, and neuroplasticity. Here's what that means in simple terms. Every time you use your leg muscles, they send a chemical message to your brain, a message that says, repair yourself, grow, build stronger neural connections. But when your leg muscles become weaker, and you move less, that signal becomes weaker too. BDNF levels begin to fall, and over time your memory may begin to suffer. Now let's look at the second mechanism, mitochondrial health. Your leg muscles contain one of the highest concentrations of mitochondria anywhere in your body. Mitochondria are often called the powerhouses of the cell because they're responsible for producing the energy every cell needs to function. Research shows that when mitochondrial function begins to decline in muscle tissue, it often declines in brain tissue at the same time. Even more important, both appear to share many of the same nutritional deficiencies and underlying biological causes. So when something is damaging the mitochondria in your legs, there's a good chance it's affecting your brain as well. Now let's talk about the third mechanism, inflammation. Age-related muscle loss known medically as sarcopenia, is now understood to be driven largely by chronic systemic inflammation. And that should sound familiar, because it's the very same type of inflammation associated with cognitive decline. It's the same NF-κB inflammatory pathway we discussed in our turmeric video. And it's the same inflammatory environment promoted by many of the foods we talked about in our video on dementia-promoting foods. One inflammatory process, two very different symptoms: weaker legs and declining memory. That's why the 6 foods I'm about to show you are so important, because each one supports these 3 biological mechanisms at the same time, helping strengthen your muscles, while also supporting the long-term health of your brain. Food number 6, fatty fish. Think about your dinner plate over the past week. What was your main source of protein? For many adults over 50, the answer is probably chicken, egg, cheese. Maybe red meat, or perhaps something processed and convenient. But for most people, it isn't fatty fish. And that missing habit may be affecting both your muscles and your brain more than most people realize. Fatty fish, such as salmon, sardines, mackerel, herring, and anchovies, is one of the richest natural sources of 2 nutrients that are essential for both muscle strength and brain function. There are omega-3 fatty acids and vitamin D. We've already talked about DHA in one of our previous videos, but its role in muscle health is just as important. A study published in the Blueberries, American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, found that omega-3 supplementation increased muscle protein synthesis by 31% in adults over the age of 60 compared with a placebo. Muscle protein synthesis is the process your body uses to repair, rebuild, and maintain healthy muscle tissue. Omega-3 fatty acids help by reducing the inflammatory signals that break down muscle, while also making muscle cells more responsive to the natural growth signals your body already produces. Now let's look at the brain. DHA is one of the primary structural components of your neurons. It helps keep neuronal membranes flexible and healthy, allowing brain cells to communicate quickly and efficiently. So the very same nutrient supports stronger leg muscles and healthier brain cells. At the same time, another study published in the Journal of Cachexia, Sarcopenia, and Muscle found that adults over the age of 65 with the lowest omega-3 index experienced a 47% higher rate of sarcopenia progression over 3 years compared with those whose omega-3 levels were in the optimal range. Let me tell you about a patient I'll call a Robert. Robert was 69 years old, a retired marine biologist from San Diego, California. He came to see me with 2 concerns. His legs were becoming progressively weaker, making hiking more difficult. And he had also begun noticing increasing trouble finding the right words and keeping up with complex conversations. When I reviewed his diet, I discovered he ate fish only about once a month. His omega-3 index now was just 3.4% now. His inflammatory markers were elevated, and his BDNF levels were below the range we wanted to see. We made one important change. We added new wild-caught fatty fish 3 times a week. Nothing complicated, just a consistent habit. 6 months later, Robert came back for his follow-up. He told me his legs felt stronger and more dependable on hiking trails. He also noticed that finding the right words came more easily, and his thinking felt sharper. His omega-3 index had increased to 6.9%, and his inflammatory markers had returned to a healthy range. So here's the takeaway. Aim to eat wild-caught fatty fish, such as quadra salmon, sardines, or mackerel, at least 3 times every week. Not once in a while, not only when you remember, 3 times a week, consistently. Food number 5, eggs. Let's start with breakfast. Think about what you usually eat in the morning. If it's cereal, toast, or flavored yogurt. You've probably heard me explain in previous videos why those choices can promote inflammation rather than support long-term brain health. Now compare that to eggs. Eggs are one of the most complete foods you can eat for both muscle strength and/or brain function. And they're available at almost any grocery store for a reasonable price. For your muscles, eggs provide leucine, one of the most important branched-chain amino acids for preserving muscle mass. Research published in the Journal of Nutrition found that leucine acts like a biological switch. It signals your muscles to begin the process of repair, rebuilding, and growth. Among whole foods, eggs provide one of the richest natural sources of leucine relative to their total protein content. Now let's look at the brain. Eggs are also an excellent source of choline. Choline is the nutrient your body uses to produce acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter that's essential for memory, learning, and attention. Researchers at the Bray University of Eastern Finland followed adults for more than 22 years and found that those who regularly ate eggs had a 28% lower risk of cognitive decline. Much of that benefit appears to be linked to choline's role in supporting healthy hippocampal function. One simple habit: 2 to 3 eggs a day, supporting both your muscles and your brain. Food number 4, dark leafy greens. Think about tonight's dinner. Will there be a serving of spinach, Swiss chardonnay, arugula, or collard greens on your plate? For most adults over the age of 50, the answer is probably no, or maybe only once in a while. And that small habit can make a much bigger difference than most people realize. Dark leafy greens are among the richest natural sources of dietary nitrates. Outside of beetroot juice, they're one of the best foods for increasing nitric oxide production. If you've watched my video about brain-supporting drinks, you'll remember why nitric oxide matters. Your body converts dietary nitrates into nitric oxide, which relaxes and widens blood vessels, allowing more blood to reach your tissues. For your muscles, that means better oxygen delivery, better nutrient delivery, improved endurance, and less fatigue during everyday activities. A study published in the Journal of Physiology found that dietary nitrates from leafy greens reduced the oxygen cost of exercise by 19% in older adults. In simple terms, their muscles were able to do the same work, using less energy. Now think about what that means for your brain. The very same nitric oxide also improves on cerebral blood flow, especially to the frontal lobes, the area responsible for planning, decision-making, focus, and working memory. But the benefits don't stop there. Dark leafy greens are also rich in magnesium, folate, and vitamin K. All 3 nutrients play important roles in both brain function and muscle health. We've already discussed magnesium in a previous video. Inside your muscles, magnesium helps regulate the calcium signals that control muscle contraction. Without enough magnesium, muscles fatigue more quickly, recover more slowly, and are far more likely to cramp. So here's a simple goal. Add 1 cup of dark leafy greens into your dinner every day. That's it. One small habit, with benefits that extend from your leg muscles all the way to your brain. If you're finding this information valuable, subscribe to After 50 Health, because the next 2 foods, numbers 3 and 2, have one of the strongest muscle and brain connections found anywhere in the nutritional research. And food number 1 is still coming. If you're still watching, type the number Tuan in the comments below. Food number 3, wild blueberries. Think about your favorite snack, or the dessert you usually reach for after dinner. What do you choose most often? For many adults over the age of 50, it's something packaged, something processed, or something high in added sugar. As I've mentioned in previous videos, many of those foods can fuel the chronic inflammation that affects both your muscles and your brain. Now imagine replacing that habit with one simple food: wild blueberries. If I had to recommend just one snack that supports both muscle strength and brain health, wild blueberries would be near the top of my list. Let's start with the brain. In our overnight memory video, I explained the role of anthocyanins, the natural plant compounds that give blueberries their deep blue color. These compounds activate NRF2, the brain's own antioxidant defense system, helping protect neurons while reducing the neuroinflammation that interferes with memory consolidation during sleep. Research has shown that people who consume blueberries consistently experience up to 37% slower cognitive decline compared with those who rarely eat them. But here's what's even more interesting. Those same anthocyanins also benefit your muscles. A study published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition found that blueberry consumption significantly reduced exercise-induced muscle damage and inflammatory markers in older adults. Participants recovered approximately 31% faster than those receiving a placebo. The reason appears to be the powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory activity of anthocyanins within muscle tissue itself. Wild blueberries also contain another remarkable compound called pterostilbene. It's closely related to resveratrol, but research suggests it may be especially effective at activating AMPK inside muscle cells. AMPK is often described as your cell's energy sensor. When it's activated, your muscles begin producing more mitochondria, the tiny structures responsible for generating cellular energy. More mitochondria mean more energy, greater strength, better endurance, and less fatigue. The recommendation is simple. Aim for half a cup of wild blueberries every day. Fresh or frozen both work well. And frozen wild blueberries are often more affordable while providing virtually the same nutritional benefits. Food number 2, beets. Now take a moment and picture the vegetable drawer in your refrigerator. What's inside? For most adults over the age of 50, you'll probably find carrots, broccoli, maybe lettuce. But very few people keep beets on hand. And that's unfortunate, because beets are one of the richest whole food sources of dietary nitrates available. In our video about brain-supporting drinks, I explained how beetroot juice increases nitric oxide production. Whole beets work through the very same pathway, but they also provide fiber, folate, and powerful plant compounds called betalains, which work together to support overall health. For your muscles, the nitric oxide produced from beet nitrates increases blood flow to working muscle tissue. That means more oxygen, more nutrients, better removal of waste products, and muscles that work more efficiently. A study published in the Journal of Applied Physiology found that dietary nitrates from beets improved muscle endurance in older adults by 23%, while also making physical activity feel noticeably easier. Now let's look at the brain. Beets are also rich in betaine, a nutrient that supports the body's methylation cycle. If you watched our video on vitamin B12 deficiency, you'll remember why this matters. Betaine helps regulate homocysteine levels. Keeping homocysteine under control may help reduce one of the biological processes associated with accelerated cognitive decline and Alzheimer's disease progression. The recommendation is simple. Eat 1 medium beet 3 to 4 times each week, roasted, steamed, or sliced raw into a salad. All of these preparation methods preserve the dietary nitrates that make beets so valuable. Food number 1. At the beginning of this video, I told you that the number 1 food most consistently missing from the diets of adults over 50, with both muscle weakness and cognitive decline, would probably surprise you. And I meant that. Grass-fed beef and other high-quality, unprocessed red meat consumed in the right amounts. I can almost hear the reaction. Red meat? I thought I was supposed to avoid red meat. My doctor told me to cut back. Aren't the dietary guidelines against it? Those are fair questions. And I completely understand why so many people feel that way. Because for decades, the conversation around red meat has been oversimplified. One important distinction has often been overlooked. Much of the research linking red meat to poor health outcomes focused on processed meats. Foods like bacon, sausages, hot dogs, and deli meats. These are the nitrate-preserved processed meats I discussed in our video about foods that feed dementia. But when researchers study fresh, unprocessed red meat, especially grass-fed beef, the findings are often very different. So why does grass-fed beef rank number 1 on this list? Let's start with your muscles. Grass-fed beef provides several nutrients that become increasingly important as we age. The first is creatine. Research has shown that consistent creatine intake can improve muscle strength in adults over 60 by as much as 38%. Next is complete protein, including one of the highest natural concentrations of leucine, the amino acid that signals your muscles to repair, rebuild, and maintain themselves. It also provides zinc, which supports normal testosterone production and plays a direct role in muscle protein synthesis. And finally, it supplies carnitine. Carnitine helps transport fat into the mitochondria, where it's converted into energy. As we age, carnitine levels in muscle tissue naturally decline, making this nutrient increasingly important. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition, Health and Aging found that adults over 60 who regularly consumed adequate amounts of unprocessed red meat maintained significantly greater muscle mass and strength over a 5-year period than those who avoided it, even when total protein intake was similar. Researchers believe the difference came from the unique combination of creatine, leucine, zinc, and carnitine in their naturally bioavailable forms. Now let's look at the brain. Grass-fed beef is one of the richest dietary sources of carnosine. Carnosine helps protect brain proteins from a process called glycation. Glycation occurs when excess sugar molecules attach to proteins, gradually damaging them over time. It's considered one of the major biological processes involved in both age-related muscle decline and neurodegeneration. Research suggests that consistent dietary intake of carnosine may reduce brain protein glycation by 29%. Grass-fed beef also provides zinc in one of its most absorbable forms. In our nutrient deficiency video, we talked about zinc's role in NMDA receptor function and memory consolidation. The zinc found in animal foods is absorbed 2 to 3 times more efficiently than zinc from most plant sources. And unlike grain-fed beef, grass-fed beef also provides meaningful amounts of omega-3 fatty acids, conjugated linoleic acid, and vitamin E, nutrients that help support a healthier omega-6 to omega-3 balance. Let me tell you about a patient I'll call Carol. Carol was 72 years old, a retired cardiologist from Houston, Texas. She had avoided red meat for 22 years because she believed she was following the best available cardiovascular advice. When she came to see me, she had developed significant muscle weakness. Standing up from a low chair without using her arms had become difficult. She was also experiencing progressive word-finding problems that deeply concerned her. When we evaluated her nutritional status, her dietary creatine intake was almost non-existent. Her zinc levels were in the lowest quartile. Her carnitine levels were below optimal, and her intake of carnosine was extremely low. We had a long conversation, not about eating more processed meat, but about understanding the important difference between processed and unprocessed red meat. We talked about the nutritional profile of grass-fed beef, and about what more than 2 decades of avoiding those nutrients may have meant for both her muscles and her brain. Together we made one simple change. She added grass-fed beef 2 to 3 times each week. Not every day, just 2 to 3 meals per week, alongside the other foods we've discussed in this video. 8 months later, Carol returned for her follow-up. For the first time in more than 2 years, she stood up from her chair without pushing herself up with her arms. Her cognitive testing also showed measurable improvements in word retrieval and processing speed. Before she left, she said something I've never forgotten. She told me, "I spent 22 years trying to protect my heart, and I never realized I might have been neglecting my muscles and my brain at the same time." So here's the practical takeaway. Choose grass-fed, unprocessed beef 2 to 3 times each week. Aim for 4 to 6 ounces per serving.
Pair it with dark leafy greens to provide the magnesium, folate, and dietary nitrates that work alongside its muscle and brain-supporting nutrients.
And remember, the distinction matters. Fresh, unprocessed grass-fed beef is not the same as processed meats like bacon, hot dogs, sausages, or deli meats. They should never be treated as if they're nutritionally identical. If food number 1 surprised you, type the number 3 in the comments below. Why leg strength predicts brain health. Now let's bring everything together so you can see the complete picture. When you consistently eat the 6 foods we've covered today, your body receives the nutrients it needs to support in 3 critical biological processes at the same time. The first is muscle protein synthesis. This is how your body repairs, rebuilds, and preserves muscle as you get older. The leucine found in eggs and unprocessed red meat acts like a signal that tells your muscles it's time to grow and repair. The omega-3 fatty acids in fatty fish help reduce the chronic inflammation that breaks down muscle tissue over time. The creatine in red meat provides the energy your muscles need to contract more efficiently. And the dietary nitrates found in dark leafy greens and beets improve blood flow, delivering more oxygen and nutrients to working muscles. Together, these nutrients help address the major biological causes of sarcopenia, the age-related muscle loss that leaves so many adults feeling weaker with each passing year. The second process is BDNF production and neuroplasticity. As your leg muscles become stronger and more active, they release signaling proteins known as myokines. Those myokines send chemical messages to your brain, encouraging it to produce more BDNF, the growth factor that's essential for learning, memory, and forming new neural connections. Predictor in fatty fish helps maintain healthy neuronal membranes so those signals can travel efficiently. The anthocyanins in wild blueberries activate inflammatory, helping protect the very neurons that BDNF is working to strengthen. And the choline found in eggs provides the raw material your brain needs to produce acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter that's critical for memory and attention. The third process is the reduction of chronic neuroinflammation. The omega-3s in fatty fish help restore a healthier balance between omega-6 now and omega-3 fatty acids. The anthocyanins in blueberries help reduce NF-κB activities within the hippocampus. The nitrates from leafy greens and beets improve blood flow to the brain, helping reduce the stress caused by poor circulation. And the high carnosine found in grass-fed beef helps protect both muscle and brain tissue from the damaging effects of glycation. When you step back and look at the entire picture, you begin to realize something important. These aren't 6 different foods solving 6 different problems. They're part of one nutritional strategy, supporting one interconnected biological system. Your muscles and your brain are communicating with each other every single day. When your legs begin to weaken, your brain often receives fewer of the signals it depends on to stay healthy. And when your brain struggles, your muscles are affected too. They're not asking for different solutions. They're asking for the same nutrients. Now let's bring everything together. Here's a simple review of the 6 foods that can help support both stronger legs and a healthier brain after the age of 50. Food number 6, fatty fish. Rich in omega-3 DHA, fatty fish helps increase muscle protein synthesis by 31%, while reducing the progression of age-related muscle loss. At the same time, DHA supports healthy neuronal membranes and helps maintain the brain's ability to produce BDNF, which is essential for learning and memory. Aim for the 3 servings each week, at a minimum. Food number 5, eggs. Eggs provide the leucine, one of the most important amino acids for stimulating muscle protein synthesis. They're also one of the richest natural sources of choline, the nutrient your brain uses to produce acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter responsible for memory and attention. Long-term research has linked regular egg consumption with a 28% lower risk of cognitive decline. A simple goal, 2 to 3 eggs each day. Food number 4, dark leafy greens. Spinach, kale, Swiss chard, arugula, and collard greens. These vegetables are packed with dietary nitrates, which improve blood flow to working muscles and reduce the oxygen required during physical activity by 19%, helping improve endurance. They also increase blood flow to the frontal lobes of the brain while providing magnesium, folate, and a vitamin K, nutrients that support both healthy muscle function and cognitive performance. Try to include your 1 cup with dinner every day. Food number 3, wild blueberries. The anthocyanins in wild blueberries help muscles recover approximately 31% faster, while activating AMPK, which encourages the production of new mitochondria inside muscle cells. Those same compounds also activate NAV2-T-target, helping reduce inflammation in the hippocampus and supporting brain health. Research has associated regular blueberry consumption with up to 37% slower cognitive decline. Aim for a half a cup every day. Fresh or frozen both work well. Food number 2, beets. Beets provide natural dietary nitrates that improve muscle endurance by approximately 23%, increase blood flow, and make physical activity feel easier. They also supply cocryspatine, which helps regulate homocysteine levels, supporting long-term brain health and reducing one of the biological processes associated with cognitive decline. A practical goal is 1 medium beet, 3 to 4 times each week. And finally, food number 1, grass-fed unprocessed beef. Grass-fed beef provides creatine, which research has shown can improve muscle strength by as much as 38% high in older adults. It also delivers leucine, zinc, and whole-carnitine, nutrients that help preserve muscle mass and support healthy muscle metabolism as we age. For the brain, it supplies carnosine, which helps reduce protein glycation, and highly bioavailable zinc, an essential nutrient for healthy memory function and normal NMDA receptor activity. Aim for 4 to 6 ounces 2 to 3 times each week. And always choose fresh, unprocessed, grass-fed beef whenever possible. When you look at these 6 foods together, a clear pattern begins to emerge. They're not random recommendations. They're foods that support the same biological systems connecting your muscles and your brain. Small choices, made consistently, can make a meaningful difference over time. Before we finish, I want to ask you a question. The last time you noticed your legs feeling weaker, did it ever cross your mind that your brain might be receiving the very same biological signals? I'd really like to know. Leave your answer in the comments below. I read every single one. And here's one more question. Looking at the 6 foods we covered today, which one is most consistently missing from your plate right now? Tell me that in the comments as well. Your answers help shape the topics I cover in future videos. If you found this information valuable, please share this video with someone you care about who's over the age of 50. Especially someone who has mentioned that their legs don't feel as strong as they used to. Because the connection between muscle strength and brain health is something many people have never been told. And the foods that support both are available at the same grocery stores we all visit every week. If you're new here, subscribe to After 50 Health. Every week, I share research-based nutritional neuroscience that's designed to help you better understand how everyday nutrition and lifestyle choices can support long-term brain health, physical strength, and independence as you get older. Take care of your legs. They're doing much more than helping you walk. They're constantly communicating with your brain. Listen to what they're telling you. And give both your muscles and your brain the nutrients they need to stay strong. In my next video, I'm going to show you the #1 food ban that many neurologists choose to include in their own diets to help support brain health. It's one simple food that influences many of the same biological pathways we've discussed throughout this series. You won't want to miss it. I'm Dr. Perlmutter. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'll see you in the next video. And one final reminder. Before making any significant changes to your diet or daily routine, speak with your physician first. This is especially important if you have cardiovascular disease, in kidney disease, or if you take blood-thinning medications. This video is intended for educational purposes only and should never replace personalized medical advice from your healthcare provider.